Development of a low-cost surgical simulator for use in the developing world. I would like to acknowledge Jonathan Kahn and Sarah Kalan. It is apparent that surgical simulators benefit ophthalmology residents and ultimately patients. However, the cost of these simulators is prohibitive to most ophthalmology departments in developing nations. Our objective was to create a useful ophthalmic surgical simulator for fine motor skills training at a cost that is affordable to any residency training program. We set a budget of $50 for the cost of reproduction of the entire simulator, including hardware and software. The project was divided into software and hardware components. Simulator software was developed using the Unity platform, employing smartphone sensors to detect movement. The smartphone employed was a used Apple iPhone 4S. The hardware element was 3D printed from polylactic acid plastic on a Lowellspot Mini 2 desktop 3D printer. 3D model design was developed on Fusion 360. The simulator task consists of passing a phaco needle through a pupil. The pupil decreases in width as the user moves to higher levels. The simulator scores both successful entry through the pupil as well as accidental trauma to adjacent tissues. We achieved our budget objective, keeping the cost of replication of the simulator under $50. We have also released the software and 3D printer files at nydevices.com so that anyone can reproduce the simulator. There were 17 participants, 6 surgeons, surgical residents and anterior segment attendings, and 11 non-surgeons, pre-surgical residents and high school students. After a practice level, each participant performed increasingly difficult tasks, from levels 1 through 4, consisting of passing a phaco needle through a pupil of decreasing width. Main outcome measures were number of successful entries through the pupil and number of complications, defined as inadvertently striking tissue with a phaco needle. Surgeons performed superiorly to non-surgeons in passing the phaco needle through the pupil, reaching statistical significance in the first level, with a p-value below 0.05, and showing a non-significant trend in higher levels. Surgeons also demonstrated fewer collisions with adjacent tissue, and therefore fewer complications than non-surgeons, with a p-value below 0.01 for the first level. This study demonstrated that a fine motor skills surgical simulator can be built in its entirety for less than $50. More interestingly, the results of the simulator task demonstrated significant differences in performance between surgeons and non-surgeons. Surgeons demonstrated better performance in the task of passing the phaco needle through the pupil, with a p-value below 0.05 for the first task, and highly significantly better performance in avoiding injury to adjacent tissue, with a p-value below 0.01 for the first task. It is difficult to define what skills distinguish the performance of the surgeons from the non-surgeons in the simulator. Some of the distinction is probably fine motor skills, but some of the difference seems to be a learned caution. To the extent that practice on the simulator improves these skills, it may prove a valuable tool for training residents in countries in which they do not have access to expensive full-featured simulators.
Now if I go too far into the eye, and I get that buzzing sound, which indicates that I have passed through the pupil and through the lens into an area where I should not be. So, just enough is perfect. But again, if we go back in and go too far, you'll hear the good score. That one. And then that one means I've gone too far. Okay.
All of the 3D printer files, the simulator software, and links to other materials are available for free download at nydevices.com. None of the authors has any financial interest in the simulator. The files are released under a Creative Commons Attribution Non-Commercial 4.0 International License. You may modify and distribute the files, but you may not sell them. Thank you.